Welcome to The Real News. I'm Mark Steiner. Good to have you with us. When India passed the new Citizenship Amendment Bill, nonviolent demonstrations erupted across the entire country over the course of last week. The protests are confronting this new law that will give citizenship to new immigrants from neighboring countries as long as they are not Muslims. The protests included demonstrations and strikes in public buildings. Hindus have joined Muslim demonstrators, saying this law violates the Indian Constitution and is a blatant attack on the rights of India's Muslim citizens. The repression against demonstrators by the Modi government has been swift and violent. Police attack unarmed students. Over 100 students have been injured at New Delhi's Jamia Millia Islamia and Muslim University in Aligarh. It continues, and Priyanka Gandhi, the General Secretary of the All India Congress Committee, an opposition leader in the eastern Uttar Pradesh province, participated in these demonstrations, along with many other non-Muslim Indians, as we talked about before. She had this to say in the midst of that protest.
The government has attacked students by entering universities, so we will fight for the Constitution of India. We have said it time and again that we will fight against the government.
Now, we are now joined by Sumit Ganguly, who is professor of political science and holder of the Tagore Chair in Indian Cultures and Civilizations at the Indiana University in Bloomington. His most recent book is The Future of ISIS. And Sumit, welcome to The Real News. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
So let's begin here. I think that, the Congress Party, those on the left and Muslims in India are protesting the violation of the Constitution, they say, and the discrimination against Muslims in India. At the same time, right-wing demonstrators are also protesting the law because it grants citizenship to immigrants. So let's parse this out a bit. Can you tell us what's really happening here? What's at the heart of these protests, and what's the most important thing we should focus on?
Well, the protests, as you correctly characterize, differ depending upon which group one is focusing upon. On the one hand, there are people in the northeastern state of Assam who are aggrieved with this law because they fear that large numbers of poor migrants, regardless of their religious affiliation, are likely to move in to Assam from the neighboring Bangladesh, and it may also grandfather people who had illegally migrated. And they are not so concerned about the religious composition of these people as much as the sheer numbers of people who could become Indian citizens as a consequence of this law. On the other hand, you have people in the heartland of India, particularly in Uttar Pradesh and in the National Capital Territory of New Delhi, where you have a much more varied set of protesters who are protesting much more along the lines that Indian secularism is under attack because the migrants from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan could be of any religious stripe as long as they are not Muslims. And this has brought together a real wide coalition of individuals, regardless of their religious affiliation, saying that the secular foundations of the Indian state are under attack, and that's why we are protesting this particular law.
Well, when you look at this law, it seems to be part of a wider agenda of Prime Minister Modi and his BJP party that goes to the heart of annexation of Kashmir and the anti-Muslim citizenship laws in Assam province. It appears like, as you were just talking a moment ago, though, that an all-out sectarian war targeting Muslims and others is kind of bubbling up as the enemy from within. And yet, on the other hand, you have, as you were pointing out, so many people who are not Muslim who are joining in on these demonstrations at the universities and other places. So, and then BJP won with a fairly wide majority, it seems to me, given the election itself. So tell us, so just how is this politically playing out?
Well, the way it's politically playing out is the following. Obviously, the staunch supporters of the BJP are exceedingly happy with this law, with the revocation of the special status of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, with the recent Supreme Court decision, which allows a Hindu temple to be built on the premises where a mosque used to stand, which was demolished in December 1992. All of these things have made the supporters of the BJP, particularly the more ardent supporters of the BJP, exceedingly happy. On the other hand, large numbers of people in India's civil society are acutely distressed with this turn of events because there's a real danger of India being turned into a Hindu majoritarian state if all of these pieces of legislation and court decisions in favor of the BJP continue apace.
So when Modi and the BJP, as we talked a minute ago, won these elections, as they wasted no time in implementing these anti-Muslim laws. The other question, though, I have is, is this part only of the Hindu nationalist agenda? But it seems like it's part of this new worldwide kind of right-wing alliance. Trump in the United States, Johnson in the UK, Bolsonaro in Brazil, and all the rest who are fiercely Islamophobic. So perhaps it's worth mentioning also the Indian Council in New York said the annexation of Kashmir was inspired by the Israeli occupation of Palestine. So how much of this goes beyond, do you think, the borders of India and this world alliance? Or is this, and again, politically, how do you think these things interact?
I think that in many ways, the actions of the BJP are possible not only because of their substantial majority in the Indian parliament with 303 seats out of a 545-seat parliament, but in addition to that, the global climate is creating permissive conditions. The United States, which under a different administration might have taken a very dim view of these developments in India, and the State Department probably would have spoken out with some vigor, there's been a deafening silence. Consequently, there are these permissive conditions which allow a right-wing government, a majoritarian government like that of Narendra Modi, to proceed apace, knowing perfectly well that the criticisms are going to be few and far between. Major countries like the United States are preoccupied with their own issues, particularly the impeachment. In Britain, there's been an election with a right-wing prime minister known for his mendacity, who's come into office, who could care less about the plight of Muslims in India. One of the few countries that has spoken out is Germany under Angela Merkel. But the vast majority of major countries have remained silent on this issue or have simply looked the other way. And consequently, between a powerful majority at home and permissive conditions abroad, the BJP can proceed with these plans.
It seems if in the Muslim community in the world at large, whether you're looking at China or India or Burma, you could sense a feeling of discrimination and kind of pushing against the Islamic world. You could emotionally see that happening. And I'm also curious, when you look at these demonstrations in India itself, as we talked about earlier, they cross a wide spectrum of people. And they're standing up, whether they're Hindu or Muslim or Sikh, or whoever they are, they're standing up together against this law. So what political dynamic inside of India itself is afoot? Does it mean anything in a larger political struggle in that country?
Of course it does. For all its flaws, India has been a democratic, secular state, right, against all odds. But now those values, those institutions, those principles are all under assault. And they're facing literally a battering ram at the hands of the BJP. And this has generated a counter reaction, and perhaps this might actually revitalize the principal opposition, the Congress Party, which had been anemic and had been somewhat dispirited for some time and had been rather slow in the defense of secularism. But this might be a wake-up call to the Congress Party, as was demonstrated by the fact that Priyanka Gandhi, one of the scions of the family, of the Gandhi family, actually went out to protest and joined the protesters in New Delhi's cold, as your pictures show.
Well, we'll stay on top of this and watch this. And Sumit Ganguly, we appreciate you taking your time with Real News today and look forward to talking to you more as this unfolds and see what's happening inside of India in the context of the entire international world and battling with right-wing governments. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Happy to be of assistance.
Thank you. And I'm Mark Steiner here for the Real News Network. Thank you all for joining us. Please let us know what you think. Take care.
Thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate it. But do us one more solemn favor. Hit the subscribe button below. You know you want to. Stay up on the videos.